Okay. So good afternoon to Kwami and to Osyrus and to everyone that's listening on social media. We are glad to be here. I say we're glad to be here. We got a pretty serious topic we're going to talk about. And I hate we're in a position where we still have to talk about it, but we got to do what we got to do. So my name is Kymara Seals. I am the policy director at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel. We have Osyrus Bolly, who is the racial equity coordinator here at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel. And we have Kwami Abdul-Bey, who is the elections coordinator / organizer. Elections coordinator / organizer. So we're glad to be here with you on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I know some people will be watching this later the weekend or even next week or weeks to come. But we're going to be talking about today a bill. We're going to focus these next 30 minutes to talking about strictly one bill and how it impacts the Black community. Senate Bill 71 is sponsored by Senator Dan Sullivan. This bill is known as the End Affirmative Action Bill. This bill has had some ups and downs. We're trying to kill the bill. It's what we want to do. We want to kill it. We want it to go away. Thought that it happened, but it came back. But nevertheless, we want to get into talking about, and I'm gonna read. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the title so everybody can hear the official title. Okay, it says an act to prohibit discrimination or preferential treatment by the state of Arkansas and other public entities and for other purposes. So that is the official title of this bill. Now, this bill is it's pretty, not too lengthy, but it's pretty lengthy, 13 pages. And let me tell you, it does, if it passes, it does a lot of damage. Let me tell you where it is right now. This bill did pass the Senate, House state, the Senate state agencies, okay? It has passed Senate state agencies. Then it passed the full Senate. And I will say that in the Senate, in the full Senate, every woman legislator, whether Republican or Democrat, voted against this bill because of the impact that it will have on women in general. Now, right now, the bill is in House state agencies, okay? So the bill is still alive. For a brief moment, for a few days, we thought it was dead, but the bill is still alive. The legislature is on spring break. They will be back from spring break on Monday, Monday, March the 27th, okay? Now, let me say this. House state agencies, the committee meets on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. So I need those of you listening to mark your calendars right now for Monday, the 27th of March, 10 a.m., and Wednesday, the 29th of March at 10 a.m. And the reason we say that, because right now, we do not know when this bill will be heard. We don't know. They're on spring break, but they very well could try to sneak it in that Monday morning back on spring break. So we're going to be paying attention and we're going to let people know. So now let's get into the meat of what this bill does. And Osyrus, I'm going to start with you. And I will say that the existing statute, with this bill, everywhere in this bill where the word equity was there, diversity, affirmative action has been crossed out. It has been crossed out. So Dan Sullivan, who is the sponsor, has made it clear that he and some others are no longer interested in workplaces having lack of diversity. They're not interested in equity, and they're not interested in affirmative action. And I've been through, and civil rights. The word civil rights is scratched out. So those are 4 words everywhere that was in the original bill law. It has been scratched out. And the word minority has been scratched out. So that's 5 words that have been scratched out. So let me start with Osyrus, and we want to kind of keep this conversational, but Osyrus, give us your thoughts. Tell us how this bill will adversely impact the Black community.
Thank you, Kymara. I mean, I'll just start by saying, yeah, this bill is it's just to me, an act of cultural incompetence. It's just like willful forgetfulness. You know what I'm saying? You know, we know this bill is going to impact the Black community greatly, and we're talking about teacher recruitment and retention in our communities and our schools. We've been pushing for more and more Black teachers in our schools, and for them to have opportunities to continue educating our children. And this recruitment and retention would just be forgotten and not be required in our school districts around the state of Arkansas. So you're looking at less Black teachers in the public educational system here in Arkansas.
Right.
Talking about graduate programs being accepted into these graduate programs in medical school, in law schools. You know, they have to take into account the people's races, people that are the person's race when they're applying to get into these schools. And so, you know, it's been proven in other states that have passed Indian affirmative action that the enrollment rate for Black students goes down once that's been enacted into law. And so that's going to greatly impact that. We're talking about businesses. This is going to affect the business community in a great, I'm sorry, not a great way, but in a horrible way. It's going to really impact them because we get opportunities based on the fact that we're opening up Black-owned businesses, and there's a lack of Black-owned businesses in a lot of our communities and a lot of our cities and towns. And so getting certain licenses and certifications to open these businesses, we're going to have doors closed and more Black businesses not being able to be open because, you know, affirmative action helps with that. And so you're going to see that. It's going to affect the Black veterans in our community who want to have businesses opening and get those rights. It's just all around a bad idea. And like I say, we're forgetting history when we end affirmative action. Ending affirmative action is saying basically everything's perfect for Black people, as people of color and minorities, everything is perfect. And we don't need equitable solutions because everything is good. So
and that's for
the Black community.
Right. Thank you for that, Osyrus. You know, and we have to remember why we have affirmative action. You know, and when people look at this bill, and people who really read it should understand that why it's such a bad bill, why it will have such negative impacts on our community. And like I said, we got to remember why in the first place we even had to have affirmative action. Well, we're not that. I mean, when you look what's happening around the nation, we need even more affirmative action right now, because so much is being kind of repealed, or our rights and things like that, and it's really, really challenging. And so it's I just want people to think about, like I said, the reason, we still have discrimination, racism, sexism, we still deal with all of those things right here in Arkansas in the workplace. And if it wasn't for the affirmative action and having those laws in place, so many of our people wouldn't be able to have positions that they have. Now, understand, make sure the audience understands that we're talking about people who are highly qualified and highly trained, be given an opportunity. We're not talking about people who aren't prepared and who aren't trained and who don't know, because these systems exist. We are still, fighting systems of racism. There are systems that exist in banking, in education, in admissions. There are systems in place. Those systems have not been dismantled. So Kwami, let me hear from you. We know you've had several conversations with the sponsor of this bill, and so
nameless. Is that what's going on?
Do what now? No, I said Dan. Oh no, ain't nobody gonna remain nameless. Yeah, I don't really want to call his name too much, but no, Dan. So, yeah, and I appreciate you sending that tweet. I saw his little tweet this morning. I'm like, okay, not only he's real arrogant about it too. So So talk to us, Kwami.
Well, everything both of you guys just said is 100% on point. When Osyrus, when you talk about the Black teacher recruitment, one of the things that this SB 71 targets is Black teacher recruitment specifically for the Delta region. And we understand that the Delta region, 80 to 90% of all the public school students in the Delta region are Black. So when you have programming to recruit Black students for Black teachers for Black students, that is programming that is based on solid social science research, that you perform better when you're in a classroom with a teacher that looks like you and understands you. So that's a direct attack on Black student achievement, because how Senator Sullivan explained his rationale to me was that, well, he said, do you want quality teachers or do you want Black teachers? I said, I want quality Black teachers. He said, you can only have one or the other. That's what he said to me. You can only have one or the other. I'm like, no, we can have both.
And that's ignorant. That, that comment, that shows Dan Sullivan's ignorance.
Yes.
How he's running this bill and he doesn't even understand it. But to think that Black teachers can't be qualified, intelligent, it's almost racist.
Well,
he is racist.
It definitely speaks to the intent of the legislation. The intent of the legislation is it's part of, and I talk about this every day, about this big puzzle that's being put together right now. And it's interesting that on the Joe Madison show on XM Sirius this morning, he talked about there's a puzzle that's being put together. And we have to kind of be looking to see what this puzzle is so that we can know these little pieces. This is a piece of a much larger puzzle of a Civil War that's being waged yet again on the same exact stuff that it was being waged during the original Civil War. And they try to shape it up and place it in a way where we don't understand it. Osyrus, you talked about the Black businesses. One of the targets of this SB 71 is access to information. Literally access to information, where the reason we have a small percentage of Black businesses is because Black people in the community, we aren't afforded the same information that others are afforded as far as being able to become entrepreneurs. So we have a division in the state government that specifically does that. And it goes out and it gives this information, this education, this knowledge to Black entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs. SB 71 will make that illegal. The Black Minority Health Commission, where they target Black communities that are suffering from health disparities, to give them the knowledge and information that they need to bring up themselves personally and bring up their community. SB 71 will potentially outlaw the Black Minority Health Commission.
And people, I want people to really hear that and understand that the Arkansas Minority Health Commission, I don't know how long it's been around, I know over 20 years, but it does such valuable work in the Black community. There are health disparities, there are issues, there are illnesses that disproportionately affect the Black community, and it's the minority health are one of the groups that actually address that. They have this mobile unit, they go to communities and they do free screenings, they do phenomenal work. And so you're right. I want people to understand a whole state agency, is at risk. Now, I don't know about the M.L. King Jr. Commission. I don't know about that. They say, yeah.
I did. That should not have come out of my mouth like that.
You said it. But they do great work. They do great work when it comes to diversity and unity and all of that. So
one of the things that Senator Sullivan talked about in the several meetings that I've had with him is the fact that the Supreme Court has ruled that affirmative action, as it was originally set up, was supposed to be temporary. That is correct. The Supreme Court has said that, but it's temporary based on its original intent. If its original intent deals with equity and to ensure that if you're starting here and you're starting here and you're starting here, so there's 3 different starting points and you all have the same finish point, then there needs to be some mechanisms, some handicapping to help those that are further behind. So until we get to that point where there is no longer any need for equity, then we can have an intelligent conversation about whether or not we still need affirmative action.
Right. Osyrus, let me bring you back into the conversation. One of the things, now I've not heard us talk a lot about our HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And we have 4 in the state of Arkansas. So how do you think, if this bill passes, how do you think that might impact HBCUs?
Well, exactly what we've been talking about for the past few years when it came to HBCUs. You know, people were getting upset a couple of years ago because HBCUs were lacking the funding that they needed. And so we saw presidents going to DC to try to talk about the importance of funding HBCUs. And we know that that's a constant need for HBCUs every year. You take away affirmative action, you're taking away more funding towards those HBCUs. Because we're talking about a bill that specifies preferential treatment. And so when we try to get more money to go to our HBCUs, we're doing that because they're underfunded. They don't receive the same type of state funding. Some of our HBCUs are private. And so, you know, you have to think about this when we talk about affirmative action as well. The students in UAPB, Philander, Arkansas Baptist, they are just as important. And
Right.
we have to understand the impact that this was going to have on our Black students and our historically Black colleges and universities as well.
And when you look at Arkansas AUPB, when you look at
you say UAPB?
UAPB, I said AU. UAPB, when you look at UAPB, they're in a more precarious position than the other three HBCUs because it's a state school. And there's a history of the legislature here in Arkansas retracting funding from UAPB simply because they don't like what's going on that campus. So this makes that a lot easier to happen as far as just withdrawing funding, withdrawing resources. So yeah, UAPB has is very vulnerable if SB 71 were to pass.
Yeah. Right. Let me let the viewers know if you have any questions for us, put them in the chat. I mean, not the chat, the in the comments, in the Facebook comments section. Put them in there and we'll get to them. Yeah, we'll definitely entertain any questions that you might have. Okay, so I'm looking at the bill. I'm looking at the bill, and there is one of the things that looks like is, and of course I'm just being a little specific on this. The critical needs minority teacher scholarship program. Well, it's scratched out minority. So now it just reads critical needs teacher scholarship program. So there we go. That will impact that funding for critical need minority teachers. So I think Osyrus started out talking about that our teachers, especially in the Delta, could be at risk, or our community at risk for losing teachers who
losing more teachers.
Losing more, right.
During the pandemic, that's been one of the professions that a lot of educators have transitioned out of, is the teaching profession, to go get higher paying jobs, to not deal with some of the disrespect that teachers have been dealing with from the state. And now you put another barrier in place. Now you put me basically in a larger competition because you don't value me and my importance to the classroom and to my relevance to my community. And so, and one of the things that we know that the teaching profession is predominantly women. And so one of the things that affirmative action put in place was equity for women. Women have been some of the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action. There's been more Supreme Court affirmative action cases directed for women than anybody else. And so like the teacher profession itself, we need our Black women that are teachers there. You know, I don't want to go on a history lesson with you, but you know what I'm saying, the more we deny Black women opportunities to become teachers in our Black community, the more our schools will suffer.
Right.
We value the Black woman in our community. We value the Black mother in our communities. And so we need to make every effort possible to ensure that we have Black women in our schools, teaching our children, nurturing our children, communicating with us as parents to be active, to participate in active parenting. That is something that makes our public education system successful. And so when you take that away, you don't, going back to the original part of what you're saying with this minority teacher scholarship, when you take that away, you got less Black men, but in particular Black women teaching our children in schools, and we're not recruiting them and retaining them. And so what do? They transition out of the profession, they move out of the state, and you know, then we have complaints constantly about cultural competency again.
Right.
Other people not understanding our children the same way we do, and we need somebody in there to be a liaison then to help them understand. And then we're going into a whole rabbit hole about prison pipeline, school to prison pipeline, the way children are disciplined, all types of things. So, you know, that's a horrible decision to change the intention of that scholarship.
Right. Yeah, that's good information. And then to add, and the way I see it is to add insult to injury. If it passes, there is a criminal component to this. There is a punishment where if a person violates any, not a person, a school district or whatever, if there's a violation, there's a criminal, I mean, it literally says a guilty can be found guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. And, that's in one of the sections. So here we go. You know, one of the things about Arkansas, we want to criminalize everything. And I'm so sick of that, is everything that we can criminalize, our legislators try to do that. So, but yeah, we've got to fight this fight. We need people to be alert. We need people to be aware. Go find this bill and read it for yourself. It's horrible. And it just will do so much harm to the state of Arkansas. They
want to criminalize something that's make-believe.
Right.
Reverse racism doesn't exist.
Well, yeah. And in addition to the criminal part, the section right after that, it creates a civil action for any white person who believes they've been discriminated against.
It sure does. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I'm reading it. So y'all, we need to listen. We need to see the handwriting on the wall. This is like you said, Kwami, this bill is a piece of the puzzle. Y'all, and let me tell you something. This is happening all across the nation. It's happening. We've got to fight. We need you all to call your legislators. And let me tell you who you need to call right now to stop the bill. We need you to call legislators who sit on the House state agencies. House state agencies. Those are the legislators. Now, you can get that legislators. You all can go to our website. Our comms coordinator, Ashton, has posted it. We're going to post it again next week because they are on spring break next week. So we're going to regroup and get ready to fight this because we believe it'll be on the agenda to be heard either Monday, the 27th, or Wednesday, the 29th. of March, because that's when that committee meets. So we are sounding the alarm. We are sounding the alarm. And we're going to be letting people know, even if you don't testify, we need you to show up. Now, once we find out for sure when it's going to be heard, then we'll let you know. But right now, we need everybody preparing. We need everybody preparing. I'm going to give a number, and if somebody that can put this in the chat, and this is the number you can call. This is the in-session House of Representatives phone number. You can, it's a message board. It's answered by a live person. You can call and leave a message for your legislator. Call your House, because it's too late for the Senate. Call your House of Representative member. Then call the people who are on the committee. The number is 501-682-6211. I'm gonna repeat it. Somebody put that in the on the Facebook. The number to call is 501-682-6211. Now let me send you to our CFC website. It's citizensfirst.org. Citizensfirst.org. On that website, we have a digital legislative directory. It's our legislative directory. We have some printed. You can't see it good, but we do have some of these printed. But you can get the digital directory and you find House state agencies. It's a committee of 20 people. There are 20 legislators, okay? We need you to call those legislators and leave a message for them. I gave you the number. It's a message board. It's not going to be answered, obviously, by the legislator, but they will get the message. We need to bombard their messages. They get a pink slip, and we need to literally give a pink slip to this bill, because we need it. We need to defeat this bill, because there are too many ramifications if it passes, and this is going to move this state back to like the 1960s. And maybe even further, but I know, yeah, further, right? Yeah, and I just can't stress enough.
1960s, we started seeing progress.
Right, that's true, that's true. So the 1940s, exactly. So we're going to be, so we're real serious about this. And there are other groups. We're not the only group now. There are other groups around the state of Arkansas that are talking to their members. They're sending out information. So what we have got to come together, we've got to unify, we've got to show up. We've got to show up in big numbers and show them we are serious about this. We got to testify against this bill. And I know we're lining people up to testify. I know Kwami gonna testify against it. Osyrus is gonna testify against it. And there are others, but we want this to, we want them to hear us. We want to put the pressure on because this is not good by any stretch of the imagination, okay? And the guy that Dan Sullivan, who's a state senator, a senator, yeah, he's a senator, Dan Sullivan, has made some very racist comments that he needs to be held accountable for.
Also, he needs to be held accountable for the fact that he has admitted that this bill comes out of California.
Right.
And he's shopping it to see if it's successful here, because it's been passed in 3 other states. So if it's successful in Arkansas, then they're going to start running it in Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So we got to shut it down. It's going to hurt us. We have these programs for a reason. And I'm like Osyrus. Now we don't have time to give you a history lesson, but y'all know why we have these programs, and you know what we've been through and what we go through. And so it's just like why we have historically Black colleges and universities. They didn't want us at their universities,
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to be real, y'all. We got to keep it real. We got to keep it real. And we've got to do everything we can to stop this bill from getting out of committee.
Yeah, can I add one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Any closing comments? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Osyrus.
I just want to, we talked about, teachers, education, graduate programs. I just want to add this little fact that I read up on a report here in Arkansas. From 2015 to 2019, Arkansas small businesses received nearly $1 billion in financing through the SBA program. Nearly $1 billion. Of that nearly $1 billion, only 1.2 of it, around 12 million of the investment supported Black-owned businesses. And by 18 million supported Latinx-owned businesses. So we talk about nearly $1 million, and only 1.2 went to Black communities, 1.8% of it, 1.2% went to Black communities, 1.8% went to Latinx communities. And so if you think that that's 2015 to 2019, if you think that is an issue, then wait until if you think affirmative action passes. Because we're talking about less than 1% then, and we know that that's not fair. We know that that ain't equality. We know that that ain't equity. So that will impact the state funding Black-owned businesses. We are already barely at 1% of getting state support funding and investments. So I just want to add that right there to the business community, the Black business community in particular. Think about this and, call your legislators and tell them vote against that.
Right. Thank you, Osyrus. That's excellent point. Yes, call them and tell them to vote no. That's the message. Vote no on Senate Bill 71. Vote no on Senate Bill 71. Kwame, you want some closing comments?
Yeah, I think it needs to be harped upon that you brought out that there are other protected classes that are affected by this bill. Yes, Dan Sullivan, how he has packaged the bill is he continues to say Black, 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 Black. But Black communities members only receive a small percentage of the funding, like Osyrus was just talking to. Women are also a protected class that will be affected by a repeal of affirmative action legislation. Veterans, as it was stated, are also a protected class that will be negatively affected by the repeal of affirmative action legislation. Disabled Americans are a protected class that will be affected by the repeal of affirmative action legislation. So you can't sit around and say, oh, it's the Black people. We don't have to worry about that. It's not our problem. It's everybody's problem.
Right. And thank you for lifting that up, because they are protected classes of people, groups of people. And so we definitely thank you for lifting that up, Kwame. Now, we have one question that came in from someone named Colette. And it says, so in layman's terms, SB 71's intent is to cancel race-based aid when race-based systemic privilege goes unaddressed. Absolutely is the answer.
Yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. You hit the nail on the head, Colette. Oh, that's Colette Ficklin. I know her. Yeah, Colette, you are exactly Right. That is what's happening. These legislators want to pretend that all is right in the world, and it's not. It's, in their white world, these white males with their privilege, they're fine. They're fine. But they're not concerned about the rest of it. Yeah. So systemic privilege goes unaddressed. And I'm gonna tell you all something, and I know it's time for us to get off of here, but there are people who literally think because we've elected a Black president that there was no more racism or systemic problems. And it just, people are ignorant. They're ignorant. And when I say ignorant, that means unlearned. They are unlearned. So people are ignorant that say that, because it got worse, honestly. It got worse. So yeah, yeah. So Colette, you hit the nail on the head.
And that's exactly what Senator Sullivan has said behind closed doors.
Right, exactly. We're calling him out. He might come for us, but we gonna clap back. So
I'm here.
we ready. We here for it, ain't we? We here for it.
They're gonna use that language, you know what I'm saying, talking about undermining merit, but we know what it really means. You know what I'm saying? It's all about privilege and people who have control or have the majority, supermajority, holding on to that power. So
yeah.
Affirmative action is not undermining merit. It's rewarding people who deserve opportunities.
Right. In a racist world that we live in. Yeah.
And SB 71 is birthed out of a lust for power.
Yeah, exactly. Lust for power and white supremacy. Let's call it like it is. We can do that. We're not afraid to say it. And we back it up. We got the receipt. Hey, we got the receipt right here. We got a 13 document receipt that we can talk about. This is promoting white supremacy. And I'll challenge any white privilege. Exactly. We can challenge anybody toe to toe on it. We are not afraid. So that's where we are. Now let me tell you, social media, you can go to our social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and you can find the list of the legislators. I just got a message from my comms coordinator. Yeah, you can go to our websites. I mean, our social media. Like I said, we have Facebook, and we have Instagram, and I'm sure we got YouTube, but it's not there. But you can find those lists of legislators that are in the House state agencies. It's state agencies and governmental affairs is the official name, but we just say state agencies. So we appreciate you all listening, and just take this to heart. Take it to heart. We're passionate about doing what we can to stop this bill, because it is a bad bill for Arkansas. It's a bad bill for Arkansas, and it's a bad bill for us, for Black people, for women, for veterans, and other preferred classes of people. So the disabled. So yeah, so let's do what we can do and stop this bill. So we appreciate you all tuning in. And that's it. Y'all have a good day. Bye.